This is why you need to understand the Kashmir conflict, a dispute that has impacted millions of lives and shaped the destiny of South Asia. The year 1947 marked the end of the British Empire in India. It also marked the birth of two new nations, India and Pakistan. The partition, however, was a bloody and chaotic affair. Millions were displaced, and violence erupted along religious lines. In this maelstrom, the fate of one princely state remained uncertain: Kashmir. Kashmir, nestled in the Himalayas, was a land of stunning beauty and diverse cultures. Its population was predominantly Muslim, but it was ruled by a Hindu Maharaja, Hari Singh. As the deadline for joining either India or Pakistan loomed, the Maharaja hesitated. He envisioned an independent Kashmir, free from both dominions. This hope for independence, however, was short-lived. Tribesmen from Pakistan's northwest frontier province, aided by Pakistani forces, launched an invasion into Kashmir. Faced with this invasion, the Maharaja made a desperate plea to India for help. India agreed to intervene, but on the condition that Kashmir accede to India. The Maharaja, left with little choice, signed the Instrument of Accession on October 26, 1947. This act sealed Kashmir's fate, but it also ignited a conflict that would continue to burn for decades to come. If you find this video informative, please like and subscribe to our channel for more historical overviews. The Maharaja's accession to India was a turning point in Kashmir's history. It triggered the First Kashmir War, a conflict that would shape the region's destiny. India airlifted troops to Srinagar, Kashmir's capital, and pushed back the invading tribesmen. Pakistan, however, disputed the Instrument of Accession, claiming it was signed under duress. The war raged on, drawing both India and Pakistan into a bitter struggle for control over the coveted region. The war saw fierce fighting in the mountains and valleys of Kashmir. Both sides accused the other of atrocities, and the civilian population was caught in the crossfire. The conflict drew international attention, with the United Nations intervening in an attempt to broker a ceasefire. After months of negotiations, a UN-brokered ceasefire came into effect on January 1, 1949. The ceasefire line, however, did not reflect the pre-war boundaries. It divided Kashmir into two parts, one administered by India, Jammu and Kashmir, and the other by Pakistan, Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. The 1949 ceasefire was meant to be a temporary measure, a prelude to a plebiscite that would allow the Kashmiri people to decide their own fate. The plebiscite, however, never materialized. India and Pakistan remained locked in a stalemate, each side entrenched in their respective positions. The ceasefire line, known as the Line of Control, became a heavily militarized border. It cut through communities, separated families, and served as a constant reminder of the unresolved conflict. The dream of an independent Kashmir faded into the background, replaced by a stark reality of division and dispute. The post-ceasefire period was not entirely peaceful. Skirmishes along the Line of Control were frequent, and tensions between India and Pakistan remained high. The unresolved Kashmir issue cast a long shadow over the Indian subcontinent, hindering regional cooperation and fueling an arms race between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. The division of Kashmir not only impacted India and Pakistan, but also had implications for a third major power, China. China controlled a small northeastern portion of Kashmir known as Aksai Chin, which it had occupied during the Sino-Indian War of 1962. The presence of three nuclear-armed states with competing claims in Kashmir made it one of the most dangerous flashpoints in the world. The Kashmir conflict is often portrayed as a territorial dispute between India and Pakistan. While the two countries are undoubtedly central to the conflict, the reality is far more complex. There are multiple stakeholders involved, each with their own interests, aspirations, and grievances. India, for its part, views Kashmir as an integral part of its territory. It cites the Instrument of Accession and its commitment to secularism as justification for its control over the region. India has also invested heavily in infrastructure and development projects in Jammu and Kashmir, aiming to integrate the region more closely with the rest of the country. Pakistan, on the other hand, argues that Kashmir is the jugular vein of Pakistan. It points to the region's Muslim-majority population and its historical and cultural ties to Pakistan. Pakistan has consistently supported the demand for self-determination in Kashmir, calling for a UN-supervised plebiscite to allow the Kashmiri people to decide their own future. China, while not directly involved in the India-Pakistan dispute, has strategic interests in Kashmir. Its control over Aksai Chin provides it with a vital link between Tibet and Xinjiang. China has also strengthened its ties with Pakistan in recent years, investing heavily in infrastructure projects in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, including the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Amidst this geopolitical tug-of-war, the most crucial stakeholder often gets sidelined: the Kashmiri people themselves. Caught between India and Pakistan, Kashmiris have endured decades of conflict, militarization, and human rights violations. Their voices are often drowned out by the rhetoric of the two nuclear-armed neighbors, leaving them feeling like pawns in a larger game. As we delve into the era marked by wars and heightened tensions, we can't ignore the looming shadow of the nuclear threat. This period, fraught with uncertainty, saw nations on edge, grappling with the possibility of unprecedented destruction. The stakes were high, and the world watched as leaders navigated through a delicate balance of power. It was a time when diplomacy and deterrence played crucial roles in maintaining a precarious peace. The nuclear threat, ever present, served as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of conflict in the modern age. The Indus River, a lifeline for millions, has become a point of contention between India and Pakistan. Both nations rely heavily on its waters for agriculture, industry, and daily life. Disputes over water rights and usage have exacerbated tensions, making cooperation difficult. The Indus Waters Treaty, signed in 1960, aimed to address these issues, but conflicts persist. Effective management and mutual agreements are crucial to ensuring the river remains a source of sustenance rather than strife. The region of Kashmir has witnessed numerous human rights violations over the decades. Civilians have often found themselves caught in the crossfire between militant groups and military forces. Reports of extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, and restrictions on freedom of expression have raised serious concerns. International organizations have called for transparency and accountability, urging both sides to respect human rights and work towards a peaceful resolution. Today, the situation in Kashmir remains tense. Despite various diplomatic efforts, the region continues to experience periodic violence and unrest. Political instability and economic challenges further complicate the scenario. The everyday lives of Kashmiris are marked by uncertainty and hardship. It's clear that a long-term sustainable solution is needed to bring peace and stability to the region. If the conflict in Kashmir remains unresolved, the consequences could be dire. Prolonged instability may lead to increased violence, economic decline, and further human suffering. It's essential for both India and Pakistan to engage in meaningful dialogue and seek a resolution that respects the aspirations of the Kashmiri people. The international community also has a role to play in facilitating this process. Ultimately, peace in Kashmir is not just a regional necessity, but a global imperative. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content.